Mr. Chief Justice, you understand that I cannot tell the truth here in Dallas. There are people here who do not want me to tell the truth, who don't want me to have a retrial.
Mr. Ruby, I don't see why you don't just tell us now.
My life is in danger. If you request that I go back to Washington with you, that is, if you want to hear further testimony from me, can you do that? Can you take me with you?
No, that could not be done. There would be no safe place. We're not law enforcement officers. Mr. Ruby, there's a great deal of stake in this matter.
See, if I'm eliminated, there won't be any way of knowing any bit of the truth pertaining to my situation. And consequently, a whole new form of government is going to take over this country. Yeah. And I know that I won't live to see you some other time. Because I want to tell the truth. And then I want to leave this room.
Zapruder film establishes 3 shots in 5.6 seconds. Here. Oswald.
Time it.
The second and third shots came almost right on top of each other. It takes a minimum of 2.3 seconds to recycle this thing. The other problem is there was a tree there, blocking the first 2 shots. By the time they found this Zapruder film.
Didn't J. Edgar Hoover say something about that? These fall off in November?
Texas Live Oak, Chief. It sheds its leaves the first week of March. So you take this Carcano, or the worst shoulder weapon. Try to hit a moving target at 88 yards through heavy foliage, no way. Yeah. The FBI tried 2 sets of tests. Not one of their sharpshooters could match Oswald's performance. Not one. And Oswald was at best a medium shot. The scope was defective on it too. I mean, that's the whole essence of the case. The guy couldn't do the shooting. Nope. And they sold this weapon to the American government.
Zapruder film is the proof that ain't come.
That means we have to subpoena time life.
Let me ask you something, Lou. Why not just shoot Kennedy coming up Houston? There's plenty of time. He's out in the open.
Oh, you're asking myself the same thing. Even if you miss him for the first shot, the accelerator, you still got him for the second shot. No, the only reason for waiting to get him on Elm is you got him in a triangulated crossfire. You put a team there, and at the fence. On frontal shot, flat, low trajectory. On the third team, down here, in this building here, on a low floor. You only get 6 kills on there. It's a turkey shoot.
How many men?
Okay. One shooter, one spot on the radio, maybe 3 teams. I'd say these are professional riflemen too, Chief. They're serious people. Hunters. Patient. It takes skill to kill with the rifle, Chief. You gotta figure that's why there's been no execution of a chief executive with more than 200 years. 3, 2, 1.
Around the corner.
Who is it, Joe? I've been to all the bars. Nobody wants to talk.
Why should they talk to you? I told your uncle I never met a lawman who wasn't a bum. Big shot businessman. I seen him on the TV news ladder with all the other big shots. The guy's a fag, you know. Goes by another name.
What's the other name?
Charles. Clay Shaw.
Clay Bertrand is Clay Shaw. The guy who used to run the international trademark.
Yeah. What's the big mystery? Everybody down here knows the guy.
Then why does he call himself Bertrand?
Who gives a shit what he calls it? Hey, what about that grand jury thing? You think you're gonna give us a little help on that? I hope so. We could use it.
Your lunch was run at ball in January 1961 in New Orleans at the Bolton Ford dealership when the Oswald we know is in Russia. There's a man using the name of Oswald to buy trucks for the Friends of Democratic Cuba.
Down now, Mr. Oswald. You can drive out of here.
What? Salesman, never sees him again. But guess who's on the articles of incorporation of the Friends for Democratic Cuba?
Who?
Guy Bannister. Bannister has someone using the name Oswald to buy the trucks. Hoover at the FBI has a memo dated 1960 of June that someone may be trying to use Oswald's passport and identity.
Other witnesses see him on several separate days at different firing ranges. And at one time, November 9th, he decided to use practice on the target of the guy next to him.
I didn't pay 2 bits for a target just to have someone else shoot at it.
Hey, I'm sorry, buddy. I thought I was shooting at that son of a bitch, Kennedy.
As subtle as a cockroach crawling across a white rug.
Then he shows up at Sylvia Odios, a Cuban lady in Dallas working in the anti-Castro underground. The two Cubans introduce him as Leon Oswald.
Because he's
The Warren Commission says that Sylvia has bad eyesight because they have Oswald in Mexico at this time trying to get back into Cuba. The CIA has a camera outside the Cuban embassy, and they say that this is Oswald in Mexico. Now,
This is Oswald. It must be our third Oswald.
It's interesting the extent to which the Warren Commission went to making them communists. Beginning to think the whole point of the Mexican episode was to lay the blame at Fidel Castro's door. I mean, if Oswald or someone purporting to be Oswald had gotten into Cuba, come back, then killed the president, the American public once again would have supported a Cuban invasion.
I even have doubts about this photo, Bob. This pretty much convicted Oswald in the public's mind, but Oswald told Captain Fritz during his interrogation that the photo was fake.
not me.
That came from Janet Williams
Well,
Ross.
I never saw this picture. That is my face, but my face has been superimposed. The rest of the picture is not me at all. I have done a lot of photographic work, and that picture was made by someone else.
I took this picture to two experts. Look at the way the shadows on the nose fall in a straight line like it's high noon. But the shadow down here on the ground reads more like late afternoon or early morning. It's not the same time. Also, look at the crop marks across the chin. Seems like this head is pasted on somebody else's body, implicating him with the rifle and the gun.
So who the hell are you, Alex Heidel or Lee Oswald?
Well, you're the policeman. You work it out.
God damn, they put Oswald together from day one. Like some dummy corporation in the Bahamas. You just move them around a board. Anybody want to quit? All right. Don't press, put your hand. I found Clay Bertrand. Grab your socks and hose and pull. Clay Bertrand is Clay Shaw.
Shaw, director of the trademark?
Woman director of the trademark.
It's incredible.
Can you get some sworn statements? No, that's gonna be tough. Nobody is talking. I think we should have this little chat.
Honey, I hate friend that you're dragged into this. He's done so much for the city with all that restoration in the quarter. Remember we saw him at the Valley High fundraiser? He seems like such a nice man.
Honey, it'll be off the record. I'll bring him in on a Sunday. Quiet little chat between gentlemen.
In heavy fighting in Vietnam today, 7 more American soldiers died and 23 were wounded. The body count for this week now stands at 67 Americans and 626 enemy soldiers killed in action. President Johnson, meanwhile, said he regretted there is no end in sight to the war in Vietnam. 500,000 American troops are now fighting.
We face more cost, more loss, and more agony.
Told you I'm talking to Clay Shaw this morning.
Honey, we're going to Antoine's with the kids like we do every year.
No, I told you I was talking to Shaw.
Well, why in the world did you do it in the middle of Easter Sunday?
Because when I scheduled it, I didn't realize it was a holiday.
Say,
Liz,
honey, look at the calendar.
Liz, why didn't you say
You
something?
said A Sunday, not Easter Sunday.
Clay Shaw's important.
We're not.
I didn't say that, Liz. I didn't say that.
You're missing most of your life, and you don't even know it, honey. The kids are missing out, too. You're not the only one
I'll
making
rush,
sacrifices.
and I'll be there by 2, I promise. Okay, now, you just go ahead without me.
Mr. Garrison, what can I do for you on Easter Sunday?
I'm sorry, Mr. Shaw, to interrupt this holiday, but I feel this is a conversation we might better have out of the everyday bustle in this office.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, in an investigation we're conducting, your name has come up a number of times.
Wouldn't imagine where.
We've recently talked to a number of men who claim to know you. Are you acquainted with David Logan?
No, never heard of him.
Perry Russo?
No.
Or Willie O'Keefe?
No, I don't believe I know anyone by that name.
Mr. O'Keefe told us he met you at the Masquerade Bar down in the quarter. And several evenings later, you had him over for dinner at your apartment on Dauphine Street. Do you recall that?
Of course not. I don't know this man. Still my heart. Obviously then, I wouldn't have him over for dinner.
You like squaw? It's champagne.
Perhaps a few more details about the evening will refresh your memory. Mr. O'Keefe told us dinner was served by a uniformed waiter, a colored man. He particularly remembered that you sat at one end and he at the other, which he found rather unusual because the table was so long.
How was your moves?
Does that bring back memories of Willie O'Keefe?
Not at all. On the other hand, I do have a lovely Chippendale dining table, and I often have a friend over sitting at one end while I sit at the other. It's precisely the point of a long dining table. The splendor of the meal adds to the enjoyment of it.
I would imagine that a uniformed waiter helps.
Yeah, it's a taste of elegance, for which I must confess a weakness now and then. And I call him Smedley. Real name is Frankie Jenkins, but I can hardly imagine anything more uncouth during dinner than my turning toward the kitchen hollering, "Frankie!" Where's all this leading to, Mr. Garrison?
After dinner, you paid him to have sex.
That is absolute nonsense. The quarter is filled with vivid imaginations, my dear Mr. Garrison. For grimy young hoodlums who will say and do
In the course of that
anything
night,
as well
Mr.
know.
O'Keefe told us that a man named David Ferry stopped by the house along with another young man.
Who?
David Ferry.
No, I don't believe I know anyone by that name. Of course, never having met Mr. O'Keefe, I can hardly have met Mr. Ferry.
You're mine, Mary. You're mine.
The four of you parted early into the morning hours. Look at this picture.
I'm sure I've never met anyone of such bizarre appearance.
Does the name Clay Bertrand mean anything to you?
Clay Bertrand.
Clay Bertrand.
I believe there was a man with a name similar to that worked over at the Chamber of Commerce. Is that the man you had in mind?
No, it was not. Mr. Shaw, can you identify this man?
Naturally. Are you claiming, Mr. Garrison, that Mr. Oswald also had dinner with me?
Mr. Shaw, have you ever met Lee Harvey Oswald?
You really have me consorting with a sordid cast of characters.
Please answer the question.
Of course not. Such a pity, that assassination. In fact, I admired President Kennedy, a man of truth and our wife of impeccable taste.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and order without your daddy? Fine.
I want Shirley too.
Oh, here's what you want.
Me too. When's Daddy coming, Mama?
Soon. He's coming soon. He's real sorry he couldn't start with us
This is an Italian newspaper article saying that you were a member of the board of Central Mondo Commerciale in Italy. That this company was a creature of the CIA for the transfer of funds in Italy for illegal political espionage activity. It says that this company was expelled from Italy for those activities.
I'm well aware of that S9 article. I'm thinking very seriously of suing that rag of
It
a
also
newspaper.
says that this company is linked to the Schlumberger Tool Company here in Houma, Louisiana, which helped provide arms to David Barrett and his Cubans.
Mr. Garrison, you're reaching.
Am I?
I'm an international businessman. The trademark which I founded is America's commercial pipeline to Latin America. I trade everywhere. I am accused, as are all businessmen, of all things. I somehow go about my business, make money, help society the best I can, and try to promote free trade in this world.
Mr. Shaw, you ever been a contract agent for the Central Intelligence Agency?
And if I were, Mr. Garrison, do you believe I would be here today talking to somebody like you?
People like you don't have to, I guess.
May I go?
People like you, they just walk between the raindrops.
May I go? Regardless of what you may think of me, Mr. Garrison, I am a patriot first and foremost.
I've spent half my life in the United States military, serving and defending this great country, Mr. Shaw, and you're the first person I ever met who considered an act of patriotism to murder his own president.
Now, just a minute, sir. You are way out of line.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shaw. It's getting late. That's all the questions we have. Thank you for your honesty and for coming in today.
I enjoyed meeting with you, Joe. And you, Miss Cox. It was most pleasant. I wish to extend to each of you and to each of your families my best wishes for a happy Easter.
You may smile and smile and be a villain. God damn it, we got one of them. Did you see that? Hi, honey.
Hi.
Tough day.
Daddy, where you been?
My centerpiece.
Liz, I'm really sorry, but the meeting took much longer than expected.
Just a second, Jim.
We waited for hours, Jim. Honey, you could have telephoned.
I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. I just don't have rabbits on my mind.
You know what I think? I think you care more about John Kennedy than your own family. All day the kids are asking, where's Daddy? What am I supposed to tell your kids, Jim?
I don't know what to tell them. I'm not the truth. I'm doing my job to make sure they grow up in a country where justice won't be an arcane, vanished idea they read about in history books.
That sounds real
Like
fancy.
the dinosaurs or the lost
But
continent
it doesn't
Atlantis.
replace a husband or a father on Easter Sunday.
What's going to get worse, Liz? Who are you doing a brag to about this?
You know who killed President Kennedy? Was there a conspiracy here in New Orleans?
Excuse me,
Congratulations, boss. You're page 1. It ain't pretty. It says we've spent more than $8,000 on unexplained travel and investigative expenses in a period since November 1966.
Shaw must have gotten them on our tape.
Has raised some interesting questions. With taxpayer money, has he uncovered some valuable new evidence? Or is he merely saving the information which will gain from exposure at a national level? Mr. Garrison, it seems, should have some explanation.
Charles, where's that garbage in the fucking paper?
Who's that?
You know exactly what the fuck this is.
Dave?
Yeah, you got it. Listen, since you're the only straight shooter in that fucking office, I'd like a fucking answer from you. Did you plan it?
If you think we're out of our minds, whole building's been a zoo since that broke. We can't get a thing done. Water's crawling everywhere. You think about that?
Somebody planted that fucking story. Somebody tipped off the press. I'm one of fucking Garrison suspect. I can't go home. The fucking maggots are everywhere.
to me.
Hey, calm down, Dave. What?
From here on, I am a fucking dead man. A dead man.
Hey, you only mentioned in the story. Don't jump to conclusions.
Look, meet me in the lobby, the funk blow, 20 minutes.
I guarantee you the boss will protect you. He likes your mind.
Guess, I just don't know who to trust anymore, I suppose I could use a pot of hot coffee and a few packs of Luckies, huh? So you got anything new on the investigation?
Who you scared of, Dave?
Me? Everybody. Agency, mob, Cubans. That's it. Follow the Cubans. Check them out. Here, Miami, Dallas. Check out a guy named Eladio Del Valle. He used to be my paymaster when I flew missions into Cuba. Somewhere in Miami. You're on the right track. Hey, don't be writing this down. I ain't cooperating here with no one. What's going on here? There's a death warrant for me. Don't you get it? Here. Wait a minute. You ain't bugged, are you? You ain't son of a bitch, Lou. Are you?
Dave, always play square, no bugs. I'd love to have you go on the record, but I'm in no hurry. Whenever you're ready.
I ain't slept since that shit article come out. Why'd you guys have to go and get me involved with this?
Did we get you involved, or did Clay Shaw, Dave?
Cocksucking faggot. He got me by the balls.
What do you mean?
No, photographs, compromising stuff. He'll use them too. Agency plays for keeps. I knew Oswald. He was in my Civil Air Patrol unit. I taught him everything. He was a wannabe, you know? Nobody really liked him because they thought he was a snitch. But I treated him good. He talked about his kid, you know, really wanted her to grow up with a chance, but... What's this? What's going on here?
Nobody coming in. Just one sir. I got it.
Black, just give it to me. Black. Shit, my neck is killing me. I got cancer. I've had it for years. I've been working with mice, you know, trying to find a cure.
Did you ever work for the CIA?
You make it sound like some remote fucking experience in ancient history. Man, you don't leave the agency. Once you're in, they got you for life.
Shaw?
Shaw's an untouchable. Highest clearance. Shaw, Oswald, the Cubans, all agency.
About Ruby.
Jack was a pimp. He was a bagman for the Dallas mob. He used to run guns to Castro when he was still on our side. We almost had Castro with us, then we tried to whack him. Everybody's flipping sides all the time. It's fun and games, man, fun and games.
But the mob, Dave, how they figure this?
The agency too, man. CIA and the mafia working together, trying to whack out the beard, mutual interest. They've been doing it for years. Boy, they think you could dream. Well, check out something called Mongoose, Operation Mongoose. Government, Pentagon stuff. They're in charge. But who the fuck pulls whose chain? Who the fuck knows? Oh, what a deadly web we weave when we practice the deceit.
And who killed the president?
Oh, man, why don't you fucking stop it? Shit! This is too fucking big for you. You know that? This is who did the president? Who killed Kennedy? Fuck, man! It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma. The fucking shooters don't even know. Don't you get it? Fuck, man! I can't keep talking like this. You're gonna fucking kill me! I'm gonna fucking die! Son of a bitch! I don't know what happened. Bob. All I wanted in the world was to be a Catholic priest, live in a monastery, pray, serve God. I had one terrible fucking weakness, and then they frocked me. And then I started to lose everything.
It'll be okay, Dave. You just talk to us on the record. We'll protect you. I guarantee it.
They get to you too. They'll destroy you. They're untouchable, man. I'm so fucking exhausted I can't see straight.
Boss, I'm telling you, something or somebody's put tremendous heat on David Ferrer. If we sit on our behinds any longer, I don't think the guy's gonna hold on.
This bullshit. He keeps changing what he says. We can't possibly call him to a grand
Watch
jury.
the language.
My instinct is that Barry's gonna keep on deteriorating. We'll end up getting more out of it when he finally cracks.
Oh, bullshit! Now, if you start...
If we call him in now, he might freeze up. We'll lose the best shot we ever
You guys
had.
don't get it, do you? He can't go down any further. We got to protect him full time.
We don't have enough funds to protect anybody.
I know what you're going through with the ferry, Lou. We'll talk tomorrow. I got a plane to catch. Going to Washington.
Washington?
Yeah, interestingly, it says he's closely connected to these events, but he won't come down here.
I'm on to Ferris Cuban paymaster Eladio Del Valle in Miami. I tell you, I need more men. I got to get him in, boss. I can't even pull the teams to watch Ferry. Listen, I gave this man my word. This is our case. Oh, for God's sake, no, I'm please.
I got something to show you. I think you'll find it very interesting.
What is that?
John Waiter, found this in your office. We think the conference room is also bugged negative phones. We're going to have to debug the whole place.
Bugging the DA's office. This is outrageous.
You can believe what you want, but you're going to have to be more careful. All these new volunteers, I mean, any one of them.
Okay, you handle it. But I don't have time for this nonsense. Well, we obviously got the bastard's word now. I'm coming to Washington.
David Ferris dead. Found his body in his apartment a couple hours ago.
What's it look like, Nick?
I don't see any violence, Jim. Heart attack, maybe an aneurysm. It's like natural causes.
Address no one and no signature. To leave this life is for me a sweet prospect. I find nothing in it that is desirable, and on the other hand, everything that is loathsome goes on and on. Daily, we are propagandized more and more by a rising current.
Pretty flowery for David Ferris.
Yeah, I took a bunch for the low thyroid condition. Raises the metabolism, you know. David Ferris strike you as the kind of person with a low metabolism?
Hardly, I'd say the opposite. Hypertension.
You know, Ferris was the only one to express any kind of remorse about the whole thing.
Boss, more bad news from Miami. They found Ferry's Cuban friend Eladio Del Valle today. Hacked to death with a machete in his car. He was tortured, shot in the heart at point blank range, and his skull split open with an axe.
I ain't that the deal, Mr. Ferris.
No, same thing, no name, no signature. When you receive this, I will be quite dead, so no answer will be possible. I offered you love, and all I got is a hard pressed to come up with that one.
What happened at the man's hypertension where they take an entire bottle of Proloid?
He died pretty quick. Either a heart storm or ruptured blood vessels in the brain.
Can you ascertain if there's Proloid in his system?
Not a routine autopsy. But if we looked at the spinal fluid, it might be a high level of iodine, but it's difficult to know. What you thinking, Jim?
No, it doesn't make sense, Nick. I mean, the man's afraid of dying, but he kills himself in a way that leaves no trace. They leave 2 unsigned suicide notes.
If it's a suicide, I seem weirder, Jim.
The fact is, he's gone, Chief, and so is our case.
Unless we go for Shaw now.
With whose testimony? Willie O'Keefe, a male prostitute? Jack Martin, a drunk Vernon Bundy, a dope fiend. Charles got respect, Lou. Newspaper editors, American Bar Association.
I agree
They're
with
not
Bill.
gonna
We
find
haven't got
it.
no good
Shaw's
yet.
gonna get whacked. Now, how many combs is it gonna take before you lawyers figure out what's
You
going
watch your
on,
mouth,
Shaw?
Barry did this to himself. Where you going, boss?
I don't know, Bill.
Hey, Jim! Hey, where you at, Frank? Wasting your time here. Big Jim gave strict orders. No FBI allowed.
Like you, I want to talk to Bill.
No. Boss will fry me in a hog fatty when I talk to you.
Boss got a serious problem, Bill. Real serious. We know what's been going on over at your office.
Yeah, I guess you do.
You got nothing, Bill. I'm talking to you as a friend now. You're riding on the Titanic. Time to jump off before you get destroyed along with Garrett.
Frank, I don't want to hear this.
We're talking about your career here, Bill. Your life. You're a young guy. We know you're working at Castro's thing.
No, no.
Yes, you are. Look, we know Oswald didn't pull that trigger. Castro did. But if that comes out, there's going to be war. Boy, millions of people are going to die. And that's a hell of a lot more important to Jim Garrison. God damn it, look at me when I talk to you. You're goddamn too selfish.
I can't.
Shut up. You've got a brain in that thick skull of yours. Listen to me. You listen real hard. Now get in the car.
Garrison,
Yeah.
glad you came. Sorry about the precautions.
Well, I just hope it was worth my while, Mr.
I could give you a false name, but I won't. Just call me X.
I've already been warned by the agency, Mr. Whoever, so this is another type of threat.
I'm not with the agency, Mr. Garrison. I assume if you've come this far, what I have to say interests you. But I'm not going to name names and tell you who or what I represent. Just have to say you're close. Closer than you think. Okay? Everything I'm going to tell you is classified top secret. I was a soldier, Mr. Garrison. 2 wars. I was one of those secret guys in the Pentagon that supplies the military hardware, planes, bullets, rifles, for what we call black operations. Black ops. Assassinations, coup d'etat, rigging elections, propaganda, psych warfare. World War II, I was in Romania, Greece, Yugoslavia. I helped evacuate part of the Nazi intelligence apparatus just before the end of the war. Used those guys in the fight against the communists. Italy, 48, stole the elections. France, 49, ruthless strikes. Overthrew Korea and the Philippines, Arbenz in Guatemala, Mossadegh in Iran. We were in Vietnam in 54, Indonesia 58, Tibet 59, got the Dalai Lama out. We were good. Very good. Then we get into the Cuban thing. Not so good. Set up all the bases for the invasion, supposed to take place in October 62. Khrushchev sent the missiles to resist the invasion. Kennedy didn't invade. We were standing out there with our dicks on the wheel. A lot of pissed off people, Mr. Garrison. You understand? I'll come to that later. So, 1963. I spent much of September 63 working on the Kennedy plan for getting all U.S. personnel out of Vietnam by the end of 1965. This plan was one of the strongest, most important papers issued from the Kennedy White House.
His National Security Action Memo 263 ordered home the first 1,000 troops for Christmas. But then in November, 1 week after the murder of Vietnamese President Diem in Saigon, and 2 weeks before the assassination of our president, a strange thing happened to me.
1947. The point is the weapons need to be with the troops. That's... Colonel?
Do indeed. You are going to the South Pole.
I am?
You are. Dr. Mooney's got all the details. I want you to check with him. Have yourself a nice vacation.
I was sent by my superior officer, we call him Y. I was sent by General Y to the South Pole as a military escort for a group of international VIPs. I was on my way back in New Zealand. The president was killed. Now, Osborne was charged at 7 p.m.
Dallas time, with Tippett's murder. That's 2 o'clock in the afternoon of the next day, New Zealand time. But already, their papers had the entire history of this unknown 24-year-old man, Oswald. Studio picture, detailed biographical data, Russian information, and were pretty sure of the fact that he killed the president alone, although it took them 4 more hours before they even charged him with that crime in Dallas. Felt to me as if my cover story was being put up, like we would in a black collar. Anyway, after I came back, I asked myself, why was I, the chief of special ops, selected to travel to the South Pole at that time to do a job that any number of others could have done? And I wondered if it could have been because one of my routine duties, if I had been in Washington, would have been to arrange for additional security in Texas, so I decided to check it out. And sure enough, I found out that someone had told the 112th Military Intelligence Group at 4th Army Headquarters at Fort Sam Houston to stand down that day over the protest of the unit commander, Colonel Reich.
I believe it's a mistake.
This is significant because it is standard operating procedure, especially in a known hostile city like Dallas, to supplement the Secret Service. I mean, even if we had not allowed the buckle top to be removed from the limousine, we would have placed at least 100 to 200 agents on the sidewalk without question. But only a month before Dallas, UN Ambassador Adlai Stevenson stood on the hip. There had already been several attempts on de Gaulle's life in France. We would have arrived days ahead of time, studied the route, checked all the buildings, never would have allowed all those wide-open empty windows overlooking Dealey. Never! We'd have had our own snipers covering the area. The minute the window went up, they'd have been on the radio. We'd have been watching the crowd, packages rolled up, newspapers, cold up and out. Never would have let a man open an umbrella along the way. Never would have allowed that limousine to slow down to 10 miles an hour, much less take that unusual curve at Houston and Elm. You would have felt an Army presence in the streets that day. None of this happened. It was a violation of the most basic protection codes we have, and it is the best indication of a massive plot in Dallas. Now, who could have best done this? Black Ops, Mr. Garrison, people in my business, people like my superior officer could have called Colonel Reich and said, look, we have another unit coming from so-and-so providing security, you'll stand down. I mean, that day, in fact, there were some individual Army intelligence people in Dallas. I'm still trying to figure out who and what, but they weren't protecting the client, and of course Oswald. Army Intel had a Harvey Lee Oswald on file. All those files have been destroyed. Many strange things were happening here. Lee Harvey Oswald had nothing to do with them. We had the entire cabinet on a trip to the Far East. We had 1/3 of a combat division returning from Germany in the air above the United States at the time of the shooting. At 12:34 p.m., the entire telephone system went out in Washington for a solid hour. And on the plane back to Washington, word was radioed from the White House Situations Room to Lyndon Johnson that one individual performed the assassination. That sound like a bunch of coincidences to you, Mr. Garrison? Not for one moment. The cabinet was out of the country to get the perceptions out of the way. Troops are in the air for possible riot control. The telephones didn't work to keep the wrong stories from spreading if anything went wrong with the plan. Nothing was left to chance. It could not be allowed to escape alive. Well, I never thought things were the same after that. Vietnam started for real. There was an era of make-believe in the Pentagon and CIA. Those of us who'd been in secret ops since the beginning knew the Warren Commission was fiction. There was something deeper, uglier. I know Alan Dulles very well. I've briefed him many a time in his house. But for the life of me, I still can't figure out why he was appointed to investigate Kennedy's death, the man who would fire them. Dulles, by the way, was General Wythe's benefactor. When I got out in '64, resigned my commission.
I never realized Kennedy was so dangerous to the establishment. Is that why?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it? Why? The how and the who is just scenery for the public. Oswald, Ruby, Cuba, the mafia. Keeps them guessing like some kind of polygraph, prevents them from asking the most important question, why? Why was Kennedy killed? Who benefited? Who has the power to cover it up? Who? In 1961, right after the Bay of Pigs, very few people know this. I participated in drawing on National Security Action Memos 55, 56, 57. These are crucial documents classified top secret. But basically in them, Kennedy instructed General Lemnitz, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that from here on forward, the Joint Chiefs of Staff would be wholly responsible for all covert paramilitary action in peacetime. This basically ended the reign of the CIA, splintered it as JFK promised he would into 1,000 pieces, and now he was ordering the military to help him do it. This was unprecedented. I can't tell you the shockwaves that this sent along the corridors of power in Washington. This, and of course, the firing of Allen Dulles, Richard Bisson, and General Charles Campbell, all of them sacred cows in intel since World War II. They got some very upset people here. Kennedy's directives were never really implemented because of bureaucratic resistance. But one of the results was the Cuban operation was turned over to my department as Operation Mongoose. Mongoose was pure black ops. It was secretly based in the South Campus of Miami University, which was the largest domestic CIA station, budgeted annually over hundreds of millions of dollars, 300 agents, 7,000 select Cubans, 50 fake business friends for laundering money. They waged non-stop war against Castro, industrial sabotage, prop running the works. And all of this came under the control of General Juan. All he did was take the rules of covert warfare he'd used abroad and brought them into this country. Now we have the people, the equipment, the bases, and the motivation. And don't underestimate the budget cuts that Kennedy called for in March of '63. Nearly 52 military installations in 25 states, 21 overseas bases. We're talking big money. You know how many helicopters have we lost in Vietnam? Nearly 3,000 so far. Who makes that? Bell Helicopter. Who owns Bell? Well, Bell was nearly bankrupt when the First National Bank of Boston approached the CIA about developing the helicopter for Indochina usage. How about the F-11 fund? General Dynamics of Fort Worth, Texas. Who owns that? Find out the defense budget since the war began. 75, going on 100 billion. Nearly 200 billion will be spent before it's over. In 1949, it was 10 billion. No war, no money. The organizing principle of any society, Mr. Garrison, is for war. The authority of the state over its people resides in its war powers. And Kennedy wanted to end the Cold War in his second term. He wanted to call off the moon race in favor of cooperation with the Soviets. He signed a treaty with the Soviets to ban nuclear testing. He refused to invade Cuba in 1962, and he set out to withdraw from Vietnam. And all of that ended on the 22nd of November, 1963. As early as 1961, they knew Kennedy was not going to go to war in Southeast Asia. Like Caesar, he is surrounded by enemies and something's underway. But it has no face. Yet everybody in the loop knows.
Forget about your combat troops. He told McNamara he is going to pull out the goddamned advisors. Fucked us in Laos, and now he is going to fuck us in goddamn Vietnam.
He won't implement it before the election. He can't afford to. I hear the NSC meeting was a real barn burner.
I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Heads are gonna roll everywhere. Did you hear what Lemnitz did?
What happened?
Kennedy tried to rub Lem's nose in shit, saying if we didn't go into Cuba, which is so close, why should we go into Vietnam, which is so far away?
Bitch, there he goes again. He's got his hands on the chicken switch.
Anyway, Lem said that the chiefs still think we ought to go into Cuba.
Money's at stake. Big money. $100 billion. Kennedy brothers target voting districts for those defense dollars. They give TFX fighter countries only to those counties that are going to make a difference. In '64, the people on the loop, they fight back. Their way.
We have to control the intelligence from Saigon.
Well, just don't let the McNamara start sticking his damn nose in this thing. Every time he goes over to Saigon on some fucking fact-finding mission, he comes back and just scares the shit out of the president. Now, won't Max Taylor on him night and day, like a fly on shit? Now, you control McNamara. You control Kennedy.
I think it started like that, in the wind. Defense contractors, big oil bankers, just conversations, nothing more. Then a call is made, maybe to someone like my superior officer, General Warren.
Yeah.
We're going. We need your help.
When?
Fall. Run away with South. We want you to come up with a plan.
I can do that.
Everything is centralized. No one has said he must die. There's been no vote, nothing's on paper. There's no one to blame. It's as old as the crucifixion. Military firing squad. 5 bullets, 1 blank, no one's guilty. because everyone in the power structure who knows anything has a plausible deniability. There are no compromising connections except at the most secret point. But what's paramount is that it must succeed. No matter how many die, no matter how much it costs, the perpetrators must be on the winning side and never subject to prosecution for anything by anyone. That is a coup d'etat. Kennedy announces the Texas trip in September. At that moment, second Osmonds start popping up all over Dallas where they have the mayor and the cops in their pocket. General Y flies in the assassins, maybe from a special camp we keep outside Athens, Greece. Probes. Maybe locals, Cubans, mafia hired, separate teams. Does it really matter who shot from what rooftop? Part of the same plan. I keep thinking about that day, Tuesday, the 26th of November, the day after they buried Kennedy.
Gentlemen, I want you to know I'm not going to let Vietnam go like China did. I'm personally committed. I'm not going to take one soldier out of there until they know we mean business in Asia.
Lyndon Johnson signs National Security Memo 273, which essentially reverses Kennedy's new withdrawal policy and gives a green light to covert action against North Vietnam, which provoked the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Just keep me elected. I'll give you your damn war.
In that document, lay the Vietnam War.
I can't believe they killed him because he wanted to change things. In our time. In our country.
Kings are killed, Mr. Garrison. Politics is power, nothing more. Oh, don't take my word for it. Don't believe me. Do your own work, your own thinking.
Besides, this is beyond me. Testify.
Me?
Testify.
No chance of that. No, I'd be arrested and gagged, maybe sent to an institution, maybe worse, you too. I can give you the background. You have to find the foreground, the little things. Keep digging. Remember, you're the only person to bring a trial on the murder of John Kennedy. That's important. It's historic.
I don't have much of a case.
You don't have a choice anymore. You become a significant threat to the national security structure. They would have killed you already, but you got a lot of light on you. Instead, they're trying to destroy your credibility. They already have in many circles in this town. Be honest. Your only chance is to come up with a case. Something. Anything. Make arrests. Stir the shitstorm. Hope to reach a point of critical mass that'll start a chain reaction of people coming forward. Then the government will crack. Remember, fundamentally, people are suckers for the truth. And the truth is on your side, Bubba. I just hope you get a break.
Shaw? Sir, you are under arrest. Charged with conspiracy and entering into an agreement with other persons for the specific purpose of committing the crime of murder of President John F. Kennedy. We have a warrant to search the premises. It's my duty to inform you at this time. I would like to remain silent to the right to the case.
Name, first, middle, and last. Claiborne Shaw. Address?
1313 Balkeen Street, New Orleans.
Ever use any aliases? Claiborne.
Mr. Clark, are you aware of the charges filed by District Attorney Garrison?
Yes, Mr. Shaw was included in our investigation. No connection found at all.
And why, if they did, is his name not mentioned once in the entire 26 volumes of the Warren Report, even if it is to clear his name. I doubt this Attorney General would qualify for my staff.
Mr. Garrison has presented absolutely nothing publicly which would contradict our findings. I know no fact which would refute the Commission's conclusion that Lee Oswald was the lone killer.
Most offenders have to wait for trial before they're allowed to produce sacred cows like the Chief Justice of the land as a character witness, who is, of course, not under oath to preach the laws of perjury.
Realize you're damaging the credibility of the country, possibly destroying it.
Let me ask you, is a government worth preserving when it lies to the people? Are you trying to convince us it's become a dangerous country, sir, when you cannot trust anyone anymore, when you cannot tell the truth? Say, let justice be done, though the heavens fall.
The JFK conspiracy, the case of Jim Garrison. After several weeks of investigation in New Orleans, a team of reporters has learned that District Attorney Jim Garrison and his staff have intimidated, bribed, and even drugged witnesses in their attempt to prove a conspiracy involving New Orleans businessman Clay Shaw in the murder of John F. Kennedy. John Chancellor was a cellmate of Willie O'Keefe's, and he said,
I sent him up for burglary. And there's his old buddy, Miguel Torres. We sent him up too.
They wanted me to say Shaw's Bertrand. They said they'd get me a pardon.
Janet Williams comments on Willie O'Keefe's descriptions of having met Oswald.
That's not the Lee I knew. Absolutely not. I think Mr. O'Keefe must have seen so many thoughts.
I didn't talk to nobody after the assassination. I was on drugs at the hospital. Like I told the FBI, that call was a figment of my imagination.
Personally, I think he's quite ill. That one half of his mind is able to go out and fabricate evidence. Then by some osmosis, he is able to convince the other half that the fabrication is the truth.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it, Liz. There's only about 20, 30 million people watching this tonight. Here's my reputation's all right with people watching that.
Because in some way, Mr. Garrison is indebted and tied to the mob. The more one looks at Jim Garrison, the more one finds he has destroyed reputations, spread fear and suspicion, and worst of all, exploited this nation's sorrow and doubt. Jim Garrison has said, quote, "Let justice be done though the heavens fall." He seeks the truth. So do we.
Dr. Martin Luther King called his beautiful dream, expressed so dramatically during the 1963 March on Washington, was shattered tonight in Memphis, Tennessee by an assassin's bullet. Police seem to think that the single shot came from across the street. They say that they have found the Browning automatic rifle fitted with a marksman's scope on the sidewalk.
I'll get it.
Is this Jim Garrison's dog?
Yeah.
Virginia or Elizabeth?
Virginia.
Virginia, you look at your daddy's entered you in a beauty contest. Would you like to be in a beauty contest?
God, my God, what have they done? It's election time. Election time.
That sounds fun.
Honey, 3 o'clock every day. Okay, Virginia, that's all I need to know.
Mommy, I'm gonna be in a beauty contest.
Who is this? Who is this? Hello?
Did you enter Virginia in a beauty contest? A man just called. He wanted to know everything. Her height, her weight, where she...
Crackpot. Martin Luther King was killed in Memphis.
Honey, your daughter's life's just been threatened.
Just a crank making calls. Happens a dozen times a day at the
Our
office.
home, Jim. A kidnapper, a murderer,
So those
what?
cowards make crank calls.
How do you
I know
know?
what's gonna happen.
How do you even know what goes on in this house anymore? You're too busy making speeches. Getting every crazed Klansman in Louisiana after us. I'm leaving. I'm taking the kids. I'm leaving. I can't stand it anymore.
Go on that one. wants you to be scared.
You and your
right?
government.
The government wants everybody to be scared to speak out.
What's
You
the
know,
matter
they
with
count
you?
on it. There's nothing
Don't
to be
you
scared
have any
of.
feelings? Your own daughter. What kind of man are you?
Take them up to my mother's if it makes you feel any better, all right? You spend a week. I'll
What's a
change
week
the
gonna
locks, the
do?
phone lines, I'll even get a bodyguard. Just get all these cells.
Honey, before this Kennedy thing, nothing mattered in this world more than your children. The other night, Jasper tried to talk to you. You didn't even notice he was there. He came to me bawling his eyes out.
I promise.
He's sensitive, honey. He
promise I'll
needs to
make
love
more
you.
time for Jasper.
Is it such a chore?
God damn it, if I said I'll spend more time with him, I'll spend more time with him, all right? Now, I cannot fight you and the whole world, too, Liz.
I'm not fighting you. I'm trying to reach you. You've changed.
Of course I've changed. My eyes have opened. And once they're open, believe me, what used to look normal seems insane and now keen. Don't you think this has something to do with that? Can't you see?
I don't want to see, goddammit. I'm tired. I've had enough. You're ruining this man Shaw's life. You're attacking him because he's a homosexual.
That's not why I'm attacking him.
Did you ever for once stop to consider what he was feeling?
You don't believe me? Hmm?
I don't know.
All this time, you never believed me.
I just want to raise our children and live a normal life. I want my life back.
So do I, goddammit. I had a life too, you know. You just can't bury your head in the sand like some goddamn ostrich, Liz. It's not about our well-being, all right? It's not about our 2 cars and our TVs and your kitchen. It's about our kids growing up in a shithole of lives, and I'm angry about it. My life is fucked because of it. If you could see it that way, Liz, you see that your life is tough too.
You never talked to me this way before, Jim.
If you don't want to support me, fine, I can understand that. Don't go start making threats about taking the
I'm
children.
not making any threats. I'm leaving you.
Making threats.
I'm taking
Go on, Amy. Fine, get out.
I am.
Go hide somewhere. Join the rest of them. They'll tell you I'm crazy. You get plenty of people to tell you I'm crazy. You won't have any problems filling out your divorce papers on me. Somebody's got to try, goddammit. Somebody.
Are we moving away, Daddy?
I don't know, Jasper.
Because of Kennedy? Alexandria's gonna kill us.
Jasper. Nobody's gonna kill us.
I'm scared. I don't like it when you and Mommy fight.
I know, I don't like it either.
Why do we have to leave? Don't you love us anymore?
Daddy loves both of you, okay? There's nothing wrong with feeling a little scared, Jasper. Telling the truth can be a scary thing sometimes. Scared President Kennedy, and he was a brave man. And if you let yourself be too scared, then you let the bad guys take over the country, don't you? Yeah. Then everybody gets scared.
Stay with Mom, Papa. Please.
Now, here's another one. The U.S. Attorney in Washington declined to serve our subpoena on Alan Dulles, Charles Kaplan, CIA Director Richard Helm, any FBI agent we named.
What do you expect from a pig but a grunt?
Without them, it's going to be near impossible, Chief, to prove Shaw's connection to the CIA.
What the hell is going on? And never before has an extradition request from this office been refused.
We haven't tried to get Julianne Mercer in here.
No, she could get hurt.
What?
You believe what's happening so other people know.
Yeah, but she's the best damn witness we have.
I just don't want to do it. That's all. Now, what else?
Well, you got your hate mail here and your fan mail here. The bad news is that the IRS requested an audit of your income from this office.
Well, I expected that 2 months ago. And they're wasting their time. Bad news is the National Guard just asked me to resign after 18 years. Well, maybe that's the good news. Never was as good as combat anyway. This is. Now, what else?
Oswald went to see the FBI 2 weeks before the assassination.
I see Special Agent Hosty, please?
I'm sorry, he's not in. Can someone else help you?
Seems that Special Agent Hosty made 3 visits to Janet Williams' house, supposedly to keep an eye on Marina. He left a note. Hosty told a Dallas newspaper man that it was a warning to him to stop questioning Marina at home when Oswald was not present. She was not a citizen, so possibly he was threatening to deport her back to Russia. But what the note really said, no one knows. Hosty tore it up, flushed down the toilet.
It's just speculation, people, but what if the note was describing the assassination attempt on JFK? Come on, people, think. That's the only reason to destroy it. Because if it was any kind of threat, like Hosty said, they would have kept it. Because it makes her case against the angry lone nut that much stronger. Remember the New Orleans meeting with Agent Quigley the day he got arrested? There again, Quigley destroyed the notes from the interview. I think we can raise a possibility that Oswald not only was an informant, but that he may well have been the original source we have for the telex dated November 17th, warning of Kennedy's assassination in Dallas on November 22nd. Fuck. William Walter, the night clerk on duty in the FBI office, he gave me a copy of this. Said it went all over the country. Nothing was done. And the motorcade went ahead on schedule. And this wasn't even mentioned in the Warren report.
Determined that a militant revolutionary group may attempt to assassinate President Kennedy on his proposed trip to Dallas, Texas.
Shortly after the assassination, Walter says that the telex was removed from all the files in all the cities as an obvious embarrassment to the Bureau. I believe Oswald was sending information to Holston. I have a hunch that from the get-go, Oswald had infiltrated this group, probably Cubans, right-wing extremists. He was told to be at the book depository that day by his handlers to either prevent the assassination or to take part in it. I mean, they could have told him anything. Either they were going to close down the plotters that day, or they were going to simulate an attack on Kennedy to whip up public opinion so that Kennedy would have to reverse his policies on communism. It doesn't really matter what they told him. He was under order. He was a foot soldier.
You can't miss. He is a dead duck.
I don't buy it, Chief. Why would the FBI cover it up? A telex that disappears from every single FBI office in this country.
There's a word, Bill. Orders.
For a cover-up? Jesus, Bill, don't you have enough proof for the FBI's complicity?
Maybe I got just a little bit more respect for this country's institutions.
My God!
What do you need? Huh? You tell me how the hell you gonna keep a conspiracy going on between the mob, the CIA, the FBI, and Army intelligence, and who the hell knows what else, when you know for a fact you can't keep a secret in this room between 12 people. We got leaks everywhere. I mean, we are going to trial here, y'all. I mean, what the hell do we really got? Oswald, Ruby, Bannister, Farrell are dead. Shaw, I mean, maybe he's an agent, I don't know. But as a covert operator in my book, he is wide open for blackmail because of his homosexuality.
Shaw's a toehold, Bill. Now, I don't know exactly what he is or where it is, and I don't really care. I do know he's lying through his teeth, and I'm not going to let go of him.
Yeah, and for those reasons, you're going to go to trial against Clay Shaw, Chief. Well, you're going to lose. We should be investigating our mafia leads here in New Orleans. Now, I can buy that a hell of a lot easier than I can the government. Ruby is all mob, knows Oswald, sets him up. Hopper, Traficante, Marcellus, they hire some guns to do killing. And the government doesn't want to open up a whole can of worms there because it used the mob to try to get to Castro. You know, Castro being assassinated by the mob by us, it sounds pretty wild to junk you citizen. So, they closed the book on JFK. Makes perfect sense to me.
I don't doubt their involvement, Bill, but at a lower level.
Oh, come on.
Could the mob change the parade route, Bill? Or eliminate the protection for the president? Could the mob send Oswald to Russia and get him back? Could the mob get the FBI, the CIA, and the Dallas police to make a mess of the investigation? I mean, could the mob get the Warren Commission appointed to cover it up? Could the mob wreck the autopsy? I mean, could the mob influence the national media to go to sleep? And since when has the mob used anything but 38s for hits up close? Mob wouldn't have the guts or the power for something of this magnitude. Assassins need payrolls, schedules, times, orders. This was a military-style ambush from start to finish. This was a coup d'etat with Lyndon Johnson waiting in the wings.
Oh, okay, so now you're saying Lyndon Johnson was involved? The President of the United States?
Bill Lyndon Johnson got $1 billion for his Texas friend Brown and Root to dredge Cam Bay for the military in Vietnam.
Boss, are you calling the President a murderer?
If I'm so far from the truth, why is the FBI bugging our officers? Huh? Why are our witnesses being bought off and murdered? Why are federal agencies blocking our extraditions as peers when we can never block?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's some rogue element in the government or something.
Some conspiracy to cover it up? You ever read your Shakespeare, Bill?
Yeah, I do.
Julius Caesar? Brutus and Cassius, they too are honorable men. Who killed Caesar? 10, 12 senators. All it takes is one Judas, Bill. A few people on the inside. Pentagon, CIA.
This is Louisiana, Chief. I mean, how the hell do you know who your daddy is? Your mama told you so. You were way out there taking a crap with some men, boss. And I, for one, am not going along on this one.
All along about Bill. They're fighting us all wrong.
Well, we need him back.
Boss, Broussard wasted a whole damn month trying to prove that mob boys like Jack Ruby and Brady are hooked up with Hunt All.
I don't trust him. I will not hear this, gentlemen. Now, I value Bill as much as any person here. This time we all made room for someone else's ideas, including me. The Oswald is what everyone says he is.
I've seen him copying files, leaving here late at night. I just plain don't trust
You
him.
two didn't hear what I said. Now, I said I will not tolerate infighting among the staff.
I'm afraid I cannot work with Bill Broussard anymore.
Are you giving me an ultimatum?
What?
You're giving me an ultimatum.
Well, if that's what you want to call it. Don't come to this. I guess I am.
Well, I will not have any damn ultimatums put to me, then. I'll accept your resignation.
Well, you sure got it. You are one stubborn son of a bitch. You're making a hell of a mistake.
Boss, you're being a little hard.
No, I don't think I am, Susie. Anyone else?
With 53% of precincts reporting, Senator Kennedy continues to hold the lead at 48 to 41% over Senator McCarthy. CBS News has projected Senator Robert Kennedy over the crucial California primary.
Now, what has been going on within the United States over the period of the last 3 years? The division, the violence, the disenchantment with our society, the divisions, whether it's between blacks and whites, between the poor and the more affluent, or between age groups, or on the war in Vietnam. So we can start to work together. We are a great country, a selfish country, and a compassionate country. And I intend to make that my basis for running in over the period of time. My thanks to all of you, and now on to Chicago. Let's do that.
Friday. Please be seated.
That's Clay Bertrand. That's the man I saw at David Ferris.
That's who you say you saw. A confessed homosexual. Convicted of pandering and solicitation. A man who has lied about everything and now wants to be taken at his
That
word.
man right there. Yes, sir. He was at the Pontchartrain wall with the man who shot the president. I remember him because of his limp.
A heroin addict injected himself at the wall, barely conscious of his surroundings. It's fair to say you could be mistaken.
It's just a figment of my imagination. The cat's still in you. The oyster shucking you, I told you. You got the right ta-ta, but the wrong ho-ho. Bertrand's not sharp. Scout's honor. And you can tell him I said so.
Objection, Your Honor. This office has won a conviction of perjury against Dean Andrews on this matter.
Exception taken. That case is on appeal.
Your Honor, we call Police Officer Aloysius Haberhorst to the stand.
I'm going to have to ask the jury to leave the courtroom.
Gentlemen, will you please rise and follow me?
Name, first, middle, and last. Clay Laverne Shaw.
The defendant did not have his lawyer present when asked.
From time immemorial, it's been standard booking procedure to ask an alias.
I call him as I see him.
Ever use any aliases? Clay Bertrand.
Mr. Shaw, what do you have to say? There's no constitutional requirement that says a lawyer has to be present for routine questions. Howard, that's our case!
That's your case. You didn't have a case. I wouldn't believe anything Haberhorst said anyway.
I can't believe you're saying this in the courtroom.
Well, I am saying it. Bring in the jury.
Oswald?
No, I did not.
Ever called Dean Andrews?
No, I did not.
And have you ever met David Ferry?
No. Wouldn't even know what he looked like if it hadn't been for the pictures I've been shown.
Did you ever use the alias Clay Bertrand?
No. I did not.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Well, a very great actor has just given us a great performance, Your Honor, but we are nowhere closer to the truth. Let it be noted that my office is charging Clay Shaw with outright perjury on the 15 answers he's given in this courtroom today. Not one word of truth having escaped his
You're
lips.
out of order, dear boy. Now sit down.
That's the man right there. That's the side right off.
International trade.
I believe in saying this in the court. Prove there was a conspiracy involving Clay Shaw. You must first prove that there was more than one man involved in the assassination. To do that, we must look at the Zapruder film, which my office has subpoenaed. The American public has not seen that. The American public has not seen that film because it has been kept locked away in a vault for the last 5 years in the Time Life building in New York City. There's a reason for that. Watch. Picture speaks 1,000 words, doesn't it? The Warren Commission thought they had an open and shut case. 3 bullets, 1 assassin. But 2 unpredictable things happened that day that made it virtually impossible. 1, the 8mm home movie taken by Abraham Zapruder while standing near the grassy knoll. And 2, the 3rd wounded man, James Tague, who was nicked by a fragment while standing near the triple underpass. The time frame 5.6 seconds established by the Zapruder film left no possibility of a full shot. So the shot or fragment that left a superficial wound on Tague's cheek had to come from one of the 3 bullets fired from the 6th floor of the depository. That leaves just 2 bullets. And we know one of them was the fatal headshot that killed Kennedy. So now a single bullet remains. A single bullet now has to account for the remaining 7 wounds in Kennedy and Conley. But rather than admit to a conspiracy or investigate further, the Warren Commission chose to endorse the theory put forth by an ambitious junior counselor, Arlen Specter, one of the grossest lies ever forced on the American people. We've come to know it as the magic bullet theory. The magic bullet enters the president's back, headed downward at an angle of 17 degrees. It then moves upward in order to leave Kennedy's body from the front of his neck, wound number 2, where it waits 1.6 seconds, presumably in midair, where it turns right, then left, right, then left, and continues into Conley's body at the rear of his right armpit, wound number 3. The bullet then heads downward at an angle of 27 degrees, shattering Conley's 5th rib and exiting from the right side of his chest, wound number 4. The bullet then turns right and re-enters Conley's body at his right wrist, wound number 5. Shattering the radius bone, the bullet then exits Conley's wrist, wound number 6, makes a dramatic U-turn, and buries itself into Conley's left thigh, wound number 7, from which it later falls out and is found in almost pristine condition on a stretcher in a corridor of Parkland Hospital. That's some bullet. Anyone who's been in combat will tell you never in the history of gunfire has there been a bullet this ridiculous. Yet the government says it can prove it with some fancy physics in a nuclear laboratory. Of course they can. Theoretical physics can prove that an elephant can hang from a cliff with his tail tied to a daisy. But use your eyes or common sense. The Army wound ballistics experts at Edward Arsenal fired some comparison bullets. Not one of them looked anything like this. Take a look at CE-856, an identical bullet fired through the wrist of a human cadaver. Just one of the bones smashed by the magic bullet. 7 wounds, gentlemen. Tough skin, dense bone. This single bullet explanation is the foundation of the Warren Commission's claim of a lone assassin. And once you conclude the magic bullet could not create all 7 of those wounds, you have to conclude that there was a 4th shot and a second rifle. And if there was a second rifle, then by definition, there had to be a conspiracy, which we believe involves the accused Clay Shaw. 51 witnesses, gentlemen of the jury, thought they heard shots coming from the grassy knoll, which is to the right in front of the president. Key witnesses that day? Charles Brent, a combat vet. Right behind, Gene Hill and Mary Mormon. S.M. Holland, Richard Dodd, James Simmons, standing on the overpass. J.C. Price, overlooking the whole plaza. William Newman, father of 2 children, who hit the deck on the north side of Elm. Abraham Zapruder. Each of these key witnesses has no doubt whatsoever one or more shots came from behind the picket fence. 26 trained medical personnel at Parkland Hospital saw with their own eyes the back of the president's head blasted out. Dr. Peters.
There was a large 7-centimeter opening in the right occipital parietal area. A considerable portion of the brain was missing there.
Almost a fifth, or possibly a quarter, of the back of the head had been blasted out, along with the underlying brain
What is the
tissue.
proper time to declare one dead?
There was also a large fragment of skull attached to a flap of the scalp. The exit hole at the rear of his head measured about 120 millimeters, or 5 inches across.
Not one of the civilian doctors who examined the president at Parkland Hospital regarded his throat wound as anything but a wound of injury. But then the body was illegally moved to Washington for the autopsy, because Because when a coup d'etat has occurred, there's a big difference between an autopsy that is performed by civilian doctors and one that is performed by military doctors under order. The departure of Air Force One from Love Field that Friday afternoon was not so much a takeoff as it was a getaway with the newly sworn-in president.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. On the plane, of course, Lee Harvey Oswald's guilt was announced by the White House Situation Room to all passengers before any kind of investigation had started. The angry lone nut solution beginning to take its shape.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Mr. Garrison, would you please bottle the end?
The three Bethesda Naval Hospital doctors picked by the military left something to be desired, in so much as none of them had any experience with combat gunfire wounds. Through their autopsy, we've been able to justify 8 wounds from just 2 bullets. 3 to Kennedy, 5 to Conlon. One of them being the magic bullet.
FBI?
Here. Colonel Fink, are you saying someone told you not to dissect the neck?
I was told that the family wanted examination of the head.
Oh, Christ. Let's weigh it. 653 grams.
As a pathologist, it was your obligation to explore all possible causes of death, was it not?
I had the cause of death.
Your Honor, I would ask you to direct the witness to answer my question. Why did Colonel Fink not dissect the tract of the bullet wound?
Well, I heard Dr. Hume stating that.
That's enough. That's enough. Here's the duty note. Okay, let's check the back journal.
There's a considerable amount of spinal fluid.
I can feel the end of the wound with my finger.
That won't be necessary.
Watch the ear, watch the ear. Yes, sir.
Shut back.
He said,
Who's in charge here?
I am. I don't remember his name. You must understand, it was quite crowded. And when you were called in circumstances like that to look at the wound of the president who is dead, you don't look around a lot to ask people for their names and who they are.
But you were a qualified pathologist. Was this Army general a qualified pathologist?
Intensely
No.
private to the Kennedy
Oh,
family.
but you took his orders.
Yes.
So he was directing the autopsy?
No.
No?
No, because there were others.
What?
There were others. There were admirals.
Well, there were admirals.
Oh, yes. And when you are a lieutenant colonel in the Army, you just follow orders.
It's not our business to discuss this with anyone outside this room.
As I recall, it was Admiral Kenny, Surgeon General of the Navy. We were specifically told not to discuss the case.
A lot of people that day were deciding what was private, none of the American people's business. The chief pathologist, Commander Hughes, by his own admission, voluntarily burned his autopsy note. President Johnson orders the blood-soaked limousine filled with bullet holes and clues to be immediately washed and rebuilt. He sends John Connolly's bloody suit right to the cleaners. The Justice Department denied this office access to the autopsy photos. And when we finally get a court order to examine President Kennedy's brain in the National Archives, in the hopes of finding from which direction the bullet came from, we're told by the government, your government, that the president's brain has disappeared. That's not all that's disappeared, gentlemen. With it, I think, the concept of justice.
Objection, Your Honor. Not only has Mr. Garrison insulted the federal government, but he is also
Overruled,
introducing a highly
overruled.
subjective...
So what really happened that day? Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we? We have the epileptic seizure around 12:15 p.m., distracting the police, making it easier for the shooters to move into their places. The epileptic later vanished, never checking into the hospital. The A-team gets on the 6th floor of the depository. Now, they were refurbishing the floors in the depository that week, which allowed unknown workmen in and out of the building. They moved quickly into position, just minutes before the shooting. The second spotter on the radio talking to the other 2 teams has the best overall view. The guard spotter. B team, 1 rifleman and 1 spotter with the headset and access to the building, moves into the low floor of the Daltex building. The third team, the C team, moves in behind the picket fence above the grassy knoll where the shooter and the spotter are first seen by the late Lee Bowers in the watchtower of the rail yard. They have the best position of all. Kennedy is close, and on a flat, low trajectory. Part of this team is a coordinator who's flashed security credentials at several people chasing them out of the parking lot area. Probably 2 to 3 more men are down in the crowd on Elm. 10 to 12 men, 3 teams, 3 shooters. The triangulation of fire, Clay Shaw and David Berry discussed 2 months before. They've walked the plaza. They know every inch. They've calibrated their sights. They've practiced on moving targets. They're ready. Kennedy's motor team makes a turn from Maine on to Houston. It's gonna be a turkey shoot. They don't shoot him coming up Houston, which is the easiest shot for a single shooter in the book depository. They wait. They wait till he gets to the killing zone between 3 rifles. Kennedy makes the final turn from Houston onto Elm, slowing down to some 11 miles an hour. The shooters across Eagle Plaza tighten, taking their aim, waiting for the radio to say, green, green, or aboard, aboard. The first shot rings out. Sounding like a backfire, misses the call completely. Frame 161, Kennedy stops raving as he hears something. Conley's head turns slightly to the right. Frame 193, the second shot hits Kennedy in the throat from the front. Frame 225, the president emerging from behind the road sign. You can see that he's obviously been hit, raising his arms to his throat. Third shot, frame 232, hits Kennedy in the back, pulling him downward and forward. Conley, you will notice, shows no signs at all of being hit. He is visibly holding his Stetson, which is impossible if his wrist has been shattered. Conley is turning here now. Frame 238. The fourth shot. It misses Kennedy and takes Conley in the back. This is the shot that proves there were 2 rifles. Conley yells out, "My God, they're going to kill us all." Somewhere around this time now, another shot that misses the car completely strikes James Head down by the underpass. The car breaks. The 6th and fatal shot, frame 313, takes Kennedy in the head from the front. This is the key shot. The president going back and to his left. Shot from the front and right. Totally inconsistent with the shot from the depository. Again. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left. So what happens then? Pandemonium. Get the hell out of here, The shooters quickly disassemble their various weapons, all except the Oswald rifle. Patrolman Joe Smith rushes into the parking lot behind the picket fence. He smells gunpowder.
The character produced credentials from his pocket that showed him to be Secret Service.
Let's see right there. You see anybody else up here? No, keep looking.
So I accepted that and let him go and continued the search. But I regretted it because this guy looked like an auto mechanic. He had on a sports shirt and pants, but he had dirty fingernails. Afterward, it didn't ring true, but at the time, we were so pressed for time.
Yet all Secret Servicemen in Dallas that day are accounted for. None were on foot through the plaza before or after the shooting. Dallas Secret Service Chief Forrest Royals returned at 12:55. At least 12 other individuals were taken into custody by Dallas police. No record of their arrest. Men acting like hobos were being pulled off trains, marched through Dealey Plaza, photographed, and yet there's no records of their arrest. Men identifying themselves as Secret Service agents all over the place. But who was impersonating them? And where was Lee Harvey Oswald? Around 12:15, on her way out of the building to see the motorcade, Secretary Carolyn Arnold sees Oswald in the second-floor snack room, where he said he went for a coat.
He was in a booth on the right side of the road. He was by himself, as usual, appeared to be having his lunch. I didn't speak to him, but I recognized him clearly.
At the same time, Bonnie Ray Williams is supposedly eating his chicken lunch in the 6th floor. He's there until 12:15, maybe 12:20. He sees nobody. Arnold Rollins down the street, he's looking up, he sees two men in the 6th floor window. Presumably after Bonnie Ray Williams had finished his lunch and left. John Powell, prisoner on the 6th floor of the Dallas County Jail, sees
Quite a few of us got shot. Everybody was hollering and yelling and all that. We thought they were security guys.
If Oswald was the assassin, he was certainly pretty nonchalant about moving himself into position. Later, he told Dallas police he was in the 2nd floor snack room. Probably told to wait there by his handler for a phone call. But the phone call never came. A maximum 90 seconds after Kennedy is shot, Patrolman Marion Baker runs into Oswald in that 2nd floor lunchroom.
Hey, you! Do you know this man? Is he an employee?
Yes, he is. The president's been shot. But what the Warren Commission would have us believe is that after 5 bolt-action shots in 5.6 seconds, Oswald then leaves 3 cartridges side by side in the firing desk. Wipes the rifle clear of fingerprints, stashes the rifle on the other side of the wall. Sprints down 5 flights of stairs past witnesses Victoria Adams and Sandra Stubbs, who never see him. He shows up cool and calm on the 2nd floor in front of Patrolman Baker. All this within a maximum of 90 seconds of the shooting.
Hey, you! Do you know this man? Is he an employee?
Yes, he is. The president's been shot. Is he out of breath? According to Baker, absolutely not. Assuming he is the sole assassin, Oswald is now free to escape from the building. The longer he delays, the more chance the building will be sealed by police. Is he guilty? Does he walk out the nearest staircase? No. He buys a coat, and at a slow pace, spotted by Mrs. Reed on the 2nd floor, he strolls out the more distant front exit, where the cops have gathered. Oddly, considering that 3 shots have been fired from there, nobody seals the book depository for 10 more minutes. Oswald slips out, as do several other employees. Of course, when he realized something had gone wrong and the president had been killed, he knew there was a problem. He may have even known he was Patsy. An intuition, maybe. The president killed in spite of his warning. The phone call that never came. Perhaps fear now came to Oswald for the very first time. So Oswald returned to his rooming house around 1 p.m., a half hour after the assassination.
The man shot the president.
He puts on his jacket, grabs his .38 revolver, and leaves at 1:04. Earlene Roberts, the housekeeper, says she heard 2 beeps on a car horn and 2 uniformed cops pulled up to the house where Oswald was in his room like it was a signal. Officer Tippett is shot between 1:10 and 1:15, about a mile away. And though no one actually saw him walking or jogging, the government says Oswald covered that distance. Now, giving the government the benefit of the doubt, Oswald would have had to jog a mile in 6 to 11 minutes and then commit the murder, then reverse his direction and walk 3/5 of a mile to the Texas Theater and arrive sometime before 1:30. It's also a useful conclusion after all. Why else would Oswald kill Tippett unless he just shot the president and feared arrest? Domingo Benavides, closest witness to the shooting, refused to identify Oswald as the killer and was never taken to a lineup. The killer Clemens saw the killer with another man. It says they went off in separate directions. Mrs. Clemens was never taken to a lineup or to the Warren Commission. At the scene of the crime, Officer J.M. Poe marks the shells with his initials to record the chain of evidence. Those initials are not on the 3 cartridge cases which the Warren Commission presented to him. As early as 12:44, only 14 minutes after the assassination, the police radio put out a description matching Oswald's size and build. Oswald is next seen by shoe salesman Johnny Brewer, lurking along Jefferson Avenue. Oswald is scared. He begins to realize the full implications of this thing. He goes into the Texas Theater, possibly his prearranged meeting point. But though he has $14 in his pocket, he does not buy the 75-cent ticket. And Brewer has the cashier call the police. In response to the cashier's call, at least 30 officers in fleet patrol cars descend on the movie theater. Now this has to be the most remarkable example of police intuition since the Reichstag fire. And I don't buy it. They knew. Someone knew Oswald was going to be there. Brewer helpfully leads the cops into the theater and from the stage points Oswald out.